Hello and welcome to this little tutorial centering around paper 1 for the AQA A-level Spanish specification. Those of you who are doing French or who are doing German, perhaps the examples you're going to see are going to be in Spanish, but a lot of the technique remains exactly the same in terms of how I'm going to go about approaching the questions. What I'm looking at going through today are some multiple choice inference questions in Spanish, some written response questions in Spanish, how to complete the gap fill text. These are all featuring every year, and it's really important to get to grips with how to go about tackling these different questions. Each one of these questions also requires a different method of reading and a different way of interacting with the questions. So it's really important as we go, we think about the metacognitive strategies, i.e. how you go about completing them to help you in the exam. So the first kind of question we're going to have a look at is the multiple choice inference question. You'll be presented with a text like the one on the left hand side there now, and you'll be presented with some answers like the ones on the right hand side. The text might come in the insert, it might not, it might form part of the exam paper, and the questions have a little introduction, and then you have to complete the sentence with either option A, option B, or option C. One thing to know about the A-level reading paper is that the questions, so 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, the answers, when you find them in the text, follow that order. So the answer for 5.1 will come before the answer for 5.2 in the text, and the same with 5.2 will become before 5.3 in the text. So what I would do first of all is, take it question by question. So starting with 5.1. I would then translate the sentence into English in my head and the options. So la compañía Z tuvo mucho éxito con sus teléfonos, so was very successful with its phones. No solo vendía sus móviles en España, so didn't just sell its mobile phones in Spain. And presentó una queja contra Apple, presented a complaint against Apple. It's a case of going to the text and finding out clues that point us in the direction of the answer. So, if we start with this one. Existen muchas empresas que copian a otras. Y luego está Z, una compañía española que comenzó a vender teléfonos bajo su propia marca y que poco a poco se fue haciendo un mercado significativo dentro del país. And here we have our answer. Se fue haciendo con un mercado significado dentro del país. Began to have a significant market within the country. So, like I've just done there, what I would do is I would highlight where the answer is and go back to your options. So, the options are: tuvo mucho éxito con sus teléfonos. Well, we've said it's starting to have a significant market within its country, so that would make sense. No solo vendía sus móviles en España. Didn't just sell its mobile phones in Spain. Nothing else is mentioned there, and it was saying within the country. And presentó una queja contra Apple. If we read on a little bit further, sin embargo, debajo de su logotipo de naranja mordida, copia la manzana mordida de Apple. So it's not talking about a complaint against Apple. It's talking about its logo. So the answer, therefore, must be A. I'm going to go for the next question now. El símbolo de Z, and I'm going to approach it in exactly the same way. Venía del idioma chino, se parecía al de Apple, fue copiado por Apple. So it came from the Chinese language. It seemed similar to Apple, the symbol, or was copied by Apple, so the symbol was copied by Apple. Sin embargo, debajo de su logotipo de naranja mordida, copia de la manzana mordida de Apple. So here we have our answer. It was a copy of the eaten apple by Apple. So if we look at our answers again, did it come from the Chinese language? No. It doesn't mention anything about the Chinese language. What it does talk about is that the telephones were Chinese telephones that were renovated. Se parecía al de Apple. We said it was a copy of the logo of Apple. O fue copiado por Apple. So their logo was copied by Apple. It wasn't. It was the other way around. They copied Apple. So the answer for that case is B. So the last question, the multiple choice question for inference in Spanish, was all about looking at the text and finding clues. This time for the written response, what we need to do is we need to locate where the answer is in the text and lift it and manipulate it appropriately to match the answers. The first thing I would do is I'll read the context, I would read the rubric, which is the set of instructions that you're given. 1992, el despertar del racismo en España. So 1992, the awakening of racism in Spain. Lee el texto y responde a las preguntas en español con la información necesaria de forma breve y concisa. No es necesario hacer frases completas para todas las respuestas. So respond briefly and concisely, and you don't need to write full sentences for your answers. That's important. Again, like the previous task, all of your questions, the answers will appear in order in the text. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to look at the first question, I'm going to translate it into English, and then I'm going to look for the answer in the text. So, ¿cómo sabemos que estaba oscuro cuando comía Lucrecia? So how did we know it was already dark when Lucrecia was eaten? En noviembre de 1992, Lucrecia Pérez, una mujer dominicana, comía a la luz de las velas con un amigo. So she was eaten at candlelight with a friend. Now, is it important the bit that she was eaten with a friend? No, it's not, because that doesn't add anything to the information about how we know it was dark. What tells us that it was dark was that she was eating at candlelight. So that's the bit that I'm going to lift for my answer. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my question, look at the stem. ¿Cómo sabemos que estaba oscuro cuando comía Lucrecia? Do I need to change any of that from the text? No, I don't. I can just lift it exactly as it is. So I'm just going to write that in now. There we go. So we know that the next question, 6.2, is going to come after 6.1 in the text. So, ¿qué uso tuvo anteriormente el edificio abandonado? So, what previous use did the abandoned building have? So, let's go back to the text. Los dos se encontraban en un edificio abandonado que antes había sido una discoteca popular en Madrid. So, again, I'm only going to look for the bit that I need to lift. Había sido una discoteca popular. So, it used to be a popular disco. And that's what I'm going to write in. There we go. The next exercise that we're going to look at is the gap fill exercise. Now, the gap fill exercise, a lot of it depends on grammar and then applying knowledge of vocabulary after that. What I would do before you start off is have a look at the vocab that's given to you and make some annotations about what you see about that vocab, such as amar. We know that that's an infinitive. We've got casa, a noun. It's feminine, singular. So always just go to your list first, have a look down, because that's going to really, really help you when it comes to answering this question. Next thing I would do is go through, read it, and read around carefully around each gap. So, nunca pude conseguir que mi mujer me something si me quería o no. The important bit is this bit here. Now, conseguir que mi mujer. So the first thing I've got is here is I've got pude in the preterite tense, and this is I. We've got conseguir que, so get somebody to do something. If you're getting somebody to do something, you need the subjunctive. And because we're in the past time frame, me quería, it's got to be the imperfect subjunctive. My only imperfect subjunctive, as I've identified, is option D. Dijese. Nunca pude conseguir que mi mujer me dijese que si me quería o no. And the next one, ¿cuántas veces se lo pregunté antes y después de something? Siempre me contestó. Now, what's important here is antes y después de is always followed by an infinitive. So you've got a preposition of de and you need an infinitive. So let's have a look at the list. So we've got amar, casarnos, we have got llegar, we've got pasear. So pasear, to walk. So before and after walking doesn't make sense really. Before, after arriving, doesn't really make sense. Before or after getting married, she would always answer, or she always answered me. That makes sense. Or before or after loving me. Obviously, we're talking about here if she said that she loved him or not, so that wouldn't make sense. So the most obvious choice here would be C. Before or after marrying me.